Hello everyone. This is going to be a different type of video. It's going to be a different type of video. So, recently I turned 20 years old, and that seems kind of weird to actually kind of say out loud or like say at all on my channel. I never really announced any of my ages. Well, I did kind of imply some of my ages, by some of like my update videos. Like I mentioned that I started college in like one update video, so that gave you guys a little bit of a give a little bit of a peek of the age that I actually was or am, I guess. But yeah, I turned 20, and to be honest, I don't know how to really feel about that. I can't really say that I'm scared because I feel exactly the same as I am right now, or as I was 19, I guess. I can't really say that I'm excited because, just like I said, I am exactly the way that I am as I was 19. I just kind of feel nothing really about it. I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like I probably should have been in a better place, or I envisioned myself, I guess, as a child, to be in a better place at 20 years old, because when you're a kid, you kind of have an idea of what adulthood will be like. You kind of like feel like, oh man, I'm gonna be driving all these cars, I'm gonna be going all over the place, I'm gonna have like a job, and I'm gonna work and shit like that. It's just like random shit like that. But yeah, basically I kind of just want to talk about my initial like thoughts as I turned 20 or something like that. And on the screen right now, you're gonna see me playing very old games on like the PC and on emulators and shit like that. You're gonna see like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Melee. You're gonna see what else are you gonna see? You're gonna see Quake 2. I used to play Quake 2 a lot. Surprisingly, on the N64. You're probably going to see Black Ops 2. You're maybe going to see Black Ops. You're just going to be seeing a whole bunch of like old games I used to play as a kid to kind of like hammer on the point of how old that I actually am. When talking about, I guess, being 20, I always kind of refer back to when I was like a kid, I guess. Because just like I said, when you're a kid, you kind of vision adulthood as like this thing where you have probably everything figured out. You kind of have like your own car, you kind of have your own things. And right now, I don't really have any of that. I don't have my own apartment. I currently don't have my own car, and I'm currently unemployed at the moment. It's not because of COVID. I actually quit myself, but I'll find another job. And I've been keeping myself afloat. Selling like random instrumentals that I made to like other people, but those kind of stopped because I just kind of got lazy with those as the day I was approaching 20 kind of kept on coming along. So yeah, as a kid, you kind of have this idea about what it's like to be an adult, and you don't really, I guess, get to that point immediately, I guess. Or as you grow older, you learn that you don't get to that point immediately. Like when I was a kid, I remember always thinking to myself that when I got older, I would want to be the first of something, I guess. Like, I don't know, the first black kid to make like a feature length fucking film that's like Academy Award winning, very like stupid shit like that. I would always have like these random movie ideas, or like random ideas flowing around in my head, and I would always just say like to my brothers or like the friends around the neighborhood to say like, hey, let's like make this shit, let's make it, and it would always come out very, very amateurish, amateurish. Fuck, I can't say any words. Obviously, because I was a kid at this point and I didn't know the basics of filmmaking, or didn't really know that much about filmmaking, but I still did them anyways. And yeah, I kind of expected to gain a really big, I guess, audience on the internet doing these types of things. This is kind of why I started my channel in the first place. But the more that I think about like the film stuff, the more that I kind of flash back to like my childhood. I remember like these distinctive points of time where we will always sleep over at each other's houses. Like the family, we were in contact with a very close family friend, and we will always like sleep over each other's houses, either their house or our house, and we would either like stay up playing like Call of Duty, Zombie Mode, or like Quake 2 on like N64. And I always found it really fun playing Quake 2 simply because I don't know why. We would always just play split screen. It was like a really fun time playing the game, like with my brother and the family friend. And you kind of those days kind of like stick out to you in a particular way, because those are kind of like the memories that you're always gonna like hold forever, even though they're kind of mundane. I think that maybe it's kind of because as grown-ups we kind of play video games or do like things that we normally did as children so much that it doesn't really faze us anymore. But as kids, you're like with friends and shit like that, and you kind of like do random shit, and you remember those moments because they're like really, really fun. And we have really good fun playing like Zombie Mode and shit like that. But yeah, like the more that I like go back talking about film stuff, the more that I go back talking about my childhood, and people always kind of talk about like how their childhood was like this thing where like they hardly went outside or anything like that. And I used to think of my childhood as something like that, but the more that I think about, the more that I realize that my childhood wasn't as bad as I kind of used to think it was. We used to live in this neighborhood. It wasn't like a horrible neighborhood. We didn't have people like shooting up the place. It was a place where people did sell shit, and like the police would come around like a fucking lot. And I think that my mother actually told me that people like stole cars and like put them in the neighborhood. Like it was like some really weird shit going on in the neighborhood. But even with the bad shit going on, like it didn't really hinder like my like childhood. Like I was staying a lot, but I wouldn't like stay in like all the time. Sometimes I would go outside. Sometimes I would go outside. I would play with like the friends around the neighborhood. I would like go out, ride the bike, do shit like that. And I guess when I was like younger, or when I was like a early teenager, I kind of like thought back to those moments, and I felt like I wasted my childhood because I spent like the majority of my time on the internet at the time, I guess, or like back in the past. But the more that I think about it as an adult, I feel like my childhood was fairly decent up to the point where I turned into a teenager. And when I talk about childhood, it always gets me on the topic of nostalgia. Obviously, I'm sorry if I'm like rambling. It's just like a really unscripted video of my thoughts. I always kind of think about nostalgia and how people kind of like flash back to like points in time, and I feel like people look at nostalgia in like this very wrong way. Like people always kind of talk about how a certain time period was good. Like, oh my god, the 2000s were the best decade, the 2010s were the best decade, the 90s, the 80s, best decade ever. It's kind of like not really, right? When people always kind of talk about how one decade is better, how cartoons were better back then, how food's better back then, they're usually talking about it from their point of view when they were a kid. I think that if we could have the ability to kind of like change back into a child in this point, we would probably have a lot of fun now as we did back then. And if we got teleported in our adult bodies back in time, like if I got teleported to like 2007 as like a 20-year-old, I feel like I would be this basically the same as I was in 2020, like right now. Like I will still have to worry about finding a job. I will still have to worry about the politics of America. I will still have to be like aware of like the political nature of America. I will still have to be aware of all like this shit of growing up. So I don't think that people miss certain decades. I just feel like people miss just being a kid. And that's not necessarily bad. I don't think that's like a bad thing. It's just that a lot of people focus on that too much, and they kind of assume that everything else in the future is like super bad, and people need to get their heads out the fucking gutter. Not out the fucking gutter or anything like that, but you know, people just need to stop looking at themselves as like this ultra uber mensch generation or anything like that. One thing that I really found interesting about childhood is how, just like I said before, how I kind of viewed how my future would kind of be. When I was a kid, I would always kind of say to myself that by the age of 20, I would be like this fantastic filmmaker known around the world as trying to be like something, right? And back in the day, I used to watch like these Nerf videos, or like not just Nerf videos. I was basically on YouTube since its like inception, like not since its inception, but basically I've been on YouTube since its like infancy, like since 2006. And I would always watch these videos made by these other people's, like, you know, like Lego videos, Nerf videos, like early videos. And I will always say to myself, like, I want to be like one of those people, like making those videos. And I made my YouTube channel like 10 years ago. Did I make my channel 10 years ago? Fuck. 9 years ago, yeah. I made it like 9 years ago when I was like 11. I just made like these little webcam videos. But I said like eventually I'm gonna make like a very great video. Like I would always look at like C.A. Cox 97 or Black Hawk Pictures 13 and say like, I'm gonna create like one of these videos one day, and I'll be recognized as like this fantastic YouTube filmmaker guy or whatever. That kind of didn't, well, it did happen, but it didn't happen soon enough. I would kind of make like these little slideshow like movie videos, and that kind of originated back when I would always take my mother's laptop and download like random Sonic pics and like put them in like a slideshow format in Windows and kind of just like narrate over them. But when I still have my YouTube channel, but I used to make like this series where I kind of like did like a slideshow text thing, where basically I took like random Sonic the Hedgehog like pictures and shit like that, and I would put them in like an order where it like fit like a certain story. I'll kind of like tell this in a little bit more detail if I make like a retrospective video about my channel. But yeah, basically I kind of like did more of those, and they were really like stupid. But even then, like even after finishing them, I would always feel proud about them, even though they were like really bad or shit like that. And I would do more shit like that. Like I would do like fan dubs and like angry German kid videos and random shit like that. But I always had this idea in my head that I would be somebody. Like even today, I feel like I kind of have this idea that I kind of want to be, I guess, recognized in some really weird way, and it may be a little bit narcissistic, maybe not, but I feel like I want to do something that is seen as great by the majority of people, or not even majority of people, just by some subsect of people that isn't like based off of something else. Like for example, I know for a fact that people like my like Walking Dead fan series, and I'm still gonna do that. But I feel like I want people to kind of recognize me for other things that I'm gonna do, and even other things that I did, like that Out for Blood thing. Like listen, that shit is like so bad, but I feel like that was actually one of the most rewarding things I ever did, because it was something that was wholly original. It wasn't, I use a model from other games, but it wasn't like a story that was based off of like something else. It was just like a thing that I made on my own, or like a little machinima called like The Darkness that that was something that I also kind of did on my own, and I'm actually kind of still proud of that to this day, because it's still probably one of my more better written videos in like a while, or better written like machinimas in like a while, and shit like that. But yeah, I kind of feel like no matter the creative outlet, I kind of feel proud of like everything that I kind of do. And I expected that around this age, I would be at the point where I'll like have like thousands of subscribers on YouTube, and I'll be like this big filmmaker guy and do shit like that. And obviously that hasn't happened yet. I hope that happens soon enough, but I kind of have to focus on like adult responsibilities and shit like that soon enough. And I think like the very weird part about being an adult is that it's kind of like a random thing. Like you don't wake up one day and you say like, oh, I'm an adult, I'm gonna do some shit. It's kind of more like you go by year, and you have like this very dreading feeling, and the days go by faster and faster. You have like this very like feeling of like dread every day and every year and shit like that. You're like, okay, I'm growing up, I'm gonna have to take on more responsibilities, it's gonna get a little bit more harder every year. And eventually one day you wake up and you're like 20 years old. You're wondering, Jesus Christ, where did all the time go? I feel like I was just like a freshman in high school like a few months ago, and now I'm like 20 years old? Are you serious? You're 20 years old now, and you're feeling like you just like got into high school? This is kind of how I feel right now. I feel almost like time is like going really fast, and I know it's like kind of like a cliche thing to say when you say like, oh, time goes like really fast. You don't know where time's going as you grow up, but it almost feels like we should be in July right now, and it's like September. And maybe it's because of the coronavirus and the lockdown, but it just feels like time's going by really fast, and I don't know how to like deal with that. It feels like one day I'm gonna wake up one day and I'm gonna be 30 years old, and no matter in what state I am gonna be, it's just gonna be like a very disturbing thought, because basically every life form on Earth is basically doing a doomsday countdown clock to basically, I guess, zero. And that's really disturbing for me to kind of, not to say, but to kind of think about. And it's not that I haven't accepted that, because I kind of have, but it's just kind of like, Jesus Christ, I need time to slow down, because I need to like calm down. And when you're like a child, you kind of don't think about time. In fact, when you're a child, time kind of goes by a little bit slower. Like every Monday would feel like, Jesus Christ, Saturday is like so many days away. Like, how the hell am I gonna like be able to get through Saturday? I mean, be able to get to like Saturday, and you like go through Saturday, you go through Monday, you're like Tuesday, it's like, Jesus Christ, like Tuesday, at least I got through like Monday. It's like, oh, it's Wednesday, it's like, oh man, okay, a few more days till Saturday, but Jesus, I don't know how much time I'm gonna take this. It's Thursday, it's like, okay, we're almost there, and then so then it gets to Friday, and you're just like, it's like, yes, we finally made a Friday, like after all this time. It just feels like it's been forever. As like a kid, you feel that, but like as an adult, or as you're growing older, and as you're like in the same place as you were before or whatever, you just kind of feel like when it gets to Monday, you're like, oh man, it's Monday. And then out of nowhere, it's like Wednesday. It's like, Jesus Christ, it's like Wednesday already. And then you get to Friday and you're like god damn, it's like Friday already. It's like even now, like even like now, today, like right now, I feel like Monday was just like a few days ago, but now I'm like in my second week of like courses, and it's like God, like how fast is time gonna go by as I like get older? And that's kind of like a typical adult thing to do, I guess. I mean, a typical like adult thing that you have to like deal with, I guess. And maybe that comes with like the familiar, like since you're like in someplace familiar, it feels like time is like going by like so fast, and maybe you just need something new to like spice it up. Cool. And I kind of thought to myself that maybe I would kind of I would maybe take, I don't know, maybe I would like maybe have more time due to the fact that I am an adult and I would have like all these things, but no, not really. There's no like manual that comes with being an adult. You kind of just have to like wing this shit on yourself and like ask people around you, like your parents or whatever, the people before you. You just gotta like, do that shit. Like no one's gonna tell you how to do. Well, people are gonna tell you how to do your taxes, but like you kind of have to like figure shit out on your own. Like a lot of people have problems with that, and not necessarily me. Like I can figure shit out fairly easily by myself, but like there's no manual to like this adult thing, and now I feel like I'm kind of like thrusted in, and I have to like figure shit out before I'm like 25 and I'm still living with like my family and shit like that. Being an adult isn't all doom and gloom, I guess, though. I guess I'm like older. I'm like 1 year away from like drinking legal age, but come on, bro, who's done that? But I do expect a little bit more to come out of me being 20 than me being 19, I guess. I'm still working on a lot of stuff, and I feel like a lot of stuff is coming along pretty fine. One of the things I am working on is it's kind of like a mini series type thing, and it's 3D, and that's coming along. But the problem is that it's been hell to work on, mostly because of the process or the work flow that I actually chose to do it on. So basically when making any type of film, there's smoke and mirrors, and just out of frame of that, there's duct tape and fucking cardboard. Okay, everything that looks good on film is there just for the camera, and that goes double time for fucking 3D films. Okay, so back in the day, back when I made The Walking Dead Among the Dead on SFM or Source Filmmaker, I didn't animate everything on set. I didn't do all that shit because there was no reason to do all that shit. Everything within the frame was everything that was going to be animated. But what happened with this miniseries is that, I guess, due to my experience with developing like games and shit like that, I felt like I needed to, I don't know, maybe I felt like I needed to animate everything in the scene, and that's what I kind of did with this one. And now it's taking way too long. It's taking like really super duper long, because now I have to animate everything in the scene, and I can't go back and say like, hey, I'm gonna start animating everything within the frame now, because it's gonna be like really weird. I'm not gonna know like which camera to play. Like, it's gonna be like really fucking weird. It's been taking a long ass time. But even though it's taking like really long, I feel like I owe it to myself to like power through and finish it. I'm not just gonna leave this shit like alone, and I feel like it's better for me to just finish it, and whatever quality comes out is what comes out. This is my like magnum opus. I got way better ideas that are gonna come out of that come out of my head. Like, this is one that's like a western. Of course, it's like the Walking Dead thing that I'm still gonna do, by the way. And there's like one about like spies and Russia. It's like I have some really good ideas, and I guess that's one thing about being 20 is that, or going through like my 20s, is that I'm gonna be doing way more than I'm probably gonna be doing once I'm like 19, and that also means like releasing more content as well. I guess another thing that is really cool about being 20 is that now I can drive without people like looking at me like I'm some type of like fucking retard or some shit. Like now people aren't gonna look at me like, are you too young to drive or some shit like that. I got my driver's license, so that's like really cool. I can't drive I can't drive my mother's car because she's worried that I'm gonna like fucking wreck that shit. I can't drive any of my brother's car because they're worried I'm gonna wreck their shit. But so yeah, I'm gonna have to start like saving up to get my own car. My father asked to help me out, I guess, with like paying for the car, but I feel like that shit should be on my own. I kind of have this mindset that if you can't help yourself, you kind of just can't help anybody else. So I kind of feel like it's probably better for me to save up and buy the car outright and then start paying for the insurance with like another job, I guess. One thing that I really want to do, and this is going to be kind of weird, is that I kind of want to lose like my virginity. Now, it's kind of like a really weird thing to say because I always kind of mention sex on this channel. I've got this is going to be really like odd to say, but I've gotten and given head so many times, so many girls. Like it's like a really weird thing, but I've never like fucked anybody, and like see, this is like really weird. I've never like fucked anybody before. Like I've gotten head from girls before. One time I had one in like the movie theater and some shit like that. And I've given head to like girls before, but I've never actually like, you know, fucked a girl before. And I know for a fact that's gonna happen when I'm, you know, as I like get older, I guess. It's kind of weird to say, but you know, I know that's gonna happen. But yeah, this is gonna be kind of a thing that I'm gonna do like every year as I'm like 20 until I'm like 30 years old. I'm gonna like stop it, I guess. And I feel like maybe this will be like a record as to the stuff that I'm going to accomplish or the stuff that I am accomplishing as I like listen to this in the future or whatever, you know. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, it's gonna be kind of like a, I guess, record keeping, I guess, like a report card or some shit like that. But yeah, this is basically it. I turned 20 and I don't know how to really feel about it except maybe confusion, I guess, and the closest feeling I have about it. I'll see you guys in the next video, which I'm not sure if it's gonna be a scripted video. It's probably gonna be an edited video, maybe about The Last of Us 2, maybe, I'm not sure. But I'll see you guys in the next video. And you know, one more thing, how are you guys feeling about like turning the current age you are, whether that be like 12 years old or fucking 15, 16, maybe even 20 like me? Leave it inside the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sorry for the 30-minute runtime, but yeah, bye.